I was rewatching my very well received Vidly rant the other day, and I decided to venture into the comments left under that video because I haven't read them in probably a year at this point. And one of the top comments is this: you prefer this actual family friendly YouTube or an old YouTube, 2007 to 2009, free to make everything fun and great? Even though I literally say in the video I don't like the current state of YouTube, but whatever, people only choose what they want to hear. Or they just comment without watching the whole video. That's entirely a possibility as well. But anyways, I don't like the current state of YouTube, but I still retain that there probably won't be a viable competitor to YouTube. You don't have to be a total kiss-ass to YouTube to acknowledge this. There is 500 hours worth of content uploaded every minute onto YouTube. It is insane how much content is pumped into this website on a daily basis. How the fuck can an up-and-coming video sharing website possibly compete with that? People can piss and moan all they want to about YouTube's policies and their decision making, but at the end of the day, we're still going to be here uploading our videos or consuming the content that others make, because there's just a vast amount of content on this website. You can find pretty much anything on this site. Maybe someone has nostalgia surrounding some obscure 80s commercial that they remember from their childhood. They can probably find it on YouTube, or someone wants to find a lesser known song by a lesser known artist that may not be in any of the streaming services. There's a pretty good chance that it's on YouTube. People have become literal celebrities from uploading onto this platform. YouTube is such a conglomerate at this point that any site that dares compete with it is just doomed to fail. Remember VidMe? Remember how people touted that it would be the website that gives YouTube a run for its money, the free speech alternative, and look, it shut down years ago. Look at all the content creators who got kicked off of YouTube and went to go upload on any of the alternative websites out there. They get a piss in the bucket compared to what they had on YouTube. If YouTube doesn't want you around anymore, that's pretty much a sentence to irrelevancy. And why is this the case? Why don't people follow their favorite creators onto any of these alternative websites? Well, the answer is simple. The general public is just way too comfortable with YouTube. They have all the content they need and want on this website. Why should they move to any of these alternative websites that don't have nearly as much content? I know, it's unfair to completely write off these websites because they don't have nearly as much content as YouTube, an established video platform that has been around for over 15 years now, but that's really the point. YouTube is an established platform. It has so much content on it. How could any of these websites possibly compete? And this isn't to say I like the way things are. I think if YouTube did have an actual viable competitor, maybe things would be better around here, but since YouTube doesn't have anything of the sort, they're just like, whatever, people will stay here because every website that tries to step up against us is doomed to failure, so why the fuck should we care about treating our users fairly? When it comes to amateur user-generated content, where else is there to go to besides YouTube? They essentially have a monopoly on video sharing. And sure, other companies could try to step up and try to compete with YouTube, like, say, Facebook or any other conglomerate of the sort, but you could pour as much money into your alternative as possible, but you still need the content to back up your alternative. And no other website has anywhere near as much content as YouTube. Oh, an alternative to YouTube popped up, and it had millions upon millions of dollars poured into it. Cool. Why should we care? Does it have the content that YouTube has? I mean, yeah, it does have some videos, but why exactly should we migrate if we have so much more content to consume on YouTube? Yeah, no thanks, pass. People are complacent. People are comfortable with where they are. They're not going to go anywhere so long as all of the content they consume is on YouTube. This is just the way things are. People get comfortable, and then it becomes hard to nudge them away from the thing that they're comfortable with. So you can yell and scream all you want about how much you want a viable competitor to YouTube, but at the end of the day, you're still going to be here, because all of the user-generated content that you consume is right here on YouTube, and no other website offers nearly as much as YouTube does. Again, this is by no means a defense of YouTube. I wish things were different myself, and I do wish that someone would rise up and finally give YouTube a run for its money. But I am also realistic. I can realize all of this, but still not like the current state of YouTube. I wish that there was a bit more nuance to this topic. From what I've observed, people seem to have a pretty tribalist mindset when it comes to this topic. Someone can scream and yell about how much they want an alternative to YouTube to happen. Someone comes along and says, well, that's pretty unrealistic at this point, considering how much of a conglomerate YouTube is. And then they get called a shill, a kiss up for YouTube, bending the knee to a corporation, when no, they're none of that. They most likely know that YouTube is shit, but they can also realize that YouTube at this point is way too huge to compete with. This does not mean that they like the way things are. This topic is not as black and white as you like to make it out to be. And it's so frustrating seeing people levy this straw man against me. Say that I like the current state of YouTube. I like that there's no viable competitor to YouTube, when I have never said that. I can still acknowledge that YouTube is not good, but I can also acknowledge at the same time that YouTube is too huge to compete with at this point. This does not make me or anyone else who thinks this a quote-unquote shill. It's just observing basic reality, and if that makes you mad, well then that's not my fucking problem. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.